Uh, I'll be with you shortly. So let me try to send you. Okay, can you unmute now?
Thank you.
Okay, okay, I can hear you now. Just put the volume up. Okay, can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you too. So, good evening and welcome. Welcome to the United States of America. I am
Thank you.
Professor Kevin Ita. I reside here in San Francisco Bay Area in California. I'm a professor, so I teach here in the university. And I just wanted to have a virtual discussion with you regarding the Nigerian economy. But before we do that, I'm sure that most people would like to know who is Prince Adewole Adebayo, the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party.
I'm essentially a Nigerian. I'm from Ondo State. I'm a lawyer. I'm 50 years old. And as you said, the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party.
Okay, can you give us a little bit of background? Where did you attend your primary school, secondary school, university? What kind of work have you done? Have you been in the public service?
Well, I think my bio is online, so that we don't spend a lot of time, and I don't mention some things and not mention some things, and people, some find what I don't mention to be more important to them than I mention. So I will encourage everyone to go and Google up, find out about me. I was born January 8, 1972. I was born in Ondo City, and I went to primary and secondary school there. I went to the University of Ife. I read law, got to Nigerian bar, called to the California bar, called to the New York bar. I'm a chartered arbitrator. Practice in many countries of the world. I'm a fellow in Singapore. I'm also a fellow in the UK. So essentially, I practice law, um, engaged in litigation in Australia and so many parts of the world. So essentially, I've been an investment lawyer. There are many institutions, as you will see in my bio, have endorsed my work for them, including being an advisor for many years for the uh, National Black Chamber of Commerce in the whole of the United States, and so many other engagements. And if you read the law reports in the courts of various countries, you will see my name in many of the cases that I have done. Of course, I have other interests. I founded pharmaceutical companies. I founded Kaftan TV, which people know about. And I've been on board of many corporate institutions. And on many occasions, I've been advisor to many governmental and non-governmental bodies. Of course, I was appointed by the United Nations and ECOWAS as a commissioner in Liberia, in the Truth and Reconciliation process. And so many other things I've done, many of which different people know. That is a short bio, but many other things will crop up as we go along.
Okay, so thank you very much. Essentially, we are going to talk about the economy of Nigeria and how you intend to marshal the economy. So Nigeria, let me just share. I'm not sure if you can see my screen, but I'm going to share my screen so that you can have some data to work with. So Nigeria's GDP is about 442 billion US dollars. The GDP per capita is 2.4 thousand US dollars, so about 2,400 US dollars. The country's GDP rate is about 2.21%. And the population is, of course, about 216 million people. So how do you intend to stimulate the economy so that, number one, the country can have enough resources to take care of our citizens?
Well, as it is, those GDP numbers, some of them you have to do a variance, plus or minus, because some of them, there are a lot of things that are not captured, and there are a lot of things that are miscaptured. But in any case, it's not really that important because a country like Nigeria should have a GDP of about 3 trillion at a minimum at this point. I think the proper GDP for Nigeria should be 9 trillion at this point in time, given our population, given the level of education, given the abundance of natural resources in the country. So the GDP, as recorded, is quite low. We should be far more than that if we really want to get along. Now, that's number one. Number two is that we have enough resources to take care of ourselves. What we haven't been doing is actually taking care of ourselves with our resources. What we've been doing mainly are 3 wrong things. One, we make a lot of Nigerians unproductive because of the way we structure the economy. We are not focusing on productivity, and we are not waking up in the morning scratching our head on how to make each person to get engaged and contribute something. We are rather plotting how to keep people away from the sharing center. So our politics has been politics of exclusion of people who are sitting at the table, ensuring that they don't want any more people joining the table. Second thing we are doing wrong is that we are sterilizing a lot of wealth because of our poor legal system, because of our poor attitude to contract, and because of absence of rule of law. We have a lot of resources being sterilized. So people have houses, other properties, and they don't have access to capital. So a lot of Nigerians are wealthy or have people who are wealthy around them, but the resources are not kinetic, they are sterilized. So someone can have a beautiful home in New York, but the wife is trying to set up a small school. They cannot get the facility because of the problem that the bank is going to wonder, if I give them the loan, how do I recover? We're going to be in court for 1,000 years. So that kind of attitude and so many other things, some fund kept with the government, is just sterilized with the banks and so many other things like that. The third, which is obvious, is that we export a lot, have capital flight arising from money laundering and corruption. And it comes in many ways. Even some transactions that look legitimate, if you look at them critically, they just amount to capital flight, including much of the spending we spend on security, much of the spending we spend on infrastructure, much of the spending we spend on consultancy, and so many other, even including travel, including trading abroad, and so many other things. So we throw away our money. Even the Supreme Court of Nigeria, even the justices, when they want to have a retreat, they don't go to Budu Ranch, they don't go to Badagry, they don't go anywhere. They go to exotic places far away with similar ecology like Nigeria. So that happens to us. So if I change all of those things, which is one, I restructure the economy to make sure that every Nigerian who is capable of lifting his hand has something to do. Even in the past, where we had less education, the peasants of Nigeria were sent to the farm, and they were able to produce a lot of wealth, cotton, groundnuts, which Americans call peanuts, cocoa, oil palm, things that you can teach people and they can know easily. So we need to engage our people. The rest were into sanitation. We had the public works department that got everybody busy. The very popular job those days, entry-level job, was a market sweeper. People who sweep the market and keep it clean. So you can get everybody engaged, and I can create 50 million jobs easily. I just finished the skeleton of a deal with National Black Chamber of Commerce in the United States, where I'm working with all the Black businesses and Black chambers of commerce in America. And when we were computing the job, we discovered that in a period of 4 years, we should be able to create 30 million jobs from franchising, from so many other things. So that woman, you find frying akara and getting very popular in your neighborhood. If you mentor such a person, the person, you can organize all of them into a restaurant chain. And you will see that in Nigeria already, some of it is taking place, but outside the official GDP, you will see women doing small shops, doing all these other things around, planning parties, doing so many other basic things. You will see graduates, since ASU went on strike. I have trained over 2,000 young people in various technology, including clean technology, including green energy. You see, I'm teaching young people how to couple together solar systems and to generate power, how to connect inverters and do basic things. All those things are not captured in the GDP because of the governmentally focused system of data collection. So if our data collections are not done, for example, at a level where you capture every activity. So the councillor or chairman of the local government in places where I'm doing all these trainings, because it's not a government project, you don't come there to find out that this is an activity that they can capture. So the second aspect is to deal with, once I dealt with getting everybody involved, is to deal with the issue, which is very critical, and that's the issue of ensuring that you don't have capital flight, and you don't have misappropriation of resources, and you don't have leakages. Whatever you say about the Nigerian economy, at this time, this ought to be a period where we have liquidity, because oil price is very high, it's over 100, and at any point in time, when we have something similar to this, Nigeria, in spite of its unstructured economic planning, will still achieve something. It was because of the first Gulf War that we were able to have some surplus, with which we completed some roads in Abuja, did the Third Mainland Bridge, did dualization of Abuja Kano Road, and a few other projects. This time around, we're supposed to have a boom, but 80% of the crude oil produced in Nigeria is stolen off balance sheet. So if you are trying to structure the economy and you don't look at the amount of capital that is flying out of the country through that method, you'll see that for a few consecutive sessions, the NNPC has made no contribution to the federation account. So essentially, Nigeria has been appropriating or has been allocating money as if it's a non-oil producing country, because NNPC, everything just been locked up and the money is being stolen. So if you deal with that, if you have a president like me who knows where the monies of Nigeria are and who is able to take care of the money and see that there's no stealing, he himself, being me, I am not interested in additional money. from anywhere, and people who work with me are patriots who want to help the country, and they are not going to be part of that. And you will see that in order for a Nigerian official to be able to steal $100 million, he needs to waste $1 billion on bogus contracts or meaningless things with international people to have this money stolen. So he can get the $100 million he wants to buy a house in Switzerland or Potomac in Washington or some Bayswater in London or Dubai or wherever fanciful place he wants to build or buy something. So once that is eliminated, you deal with that. And these are the ways by which you can deal with the economy without having a problem. Create productivity, ensure that there's no capital flight and wastage and corruption, and try to direct the productive energy of the people into agriculture. Because with agriculture, you know that you will take care of food, you take care of raw materials, you take care of unemployment. You have to deal with security. As you can see, the country, there is an orchestrated attempt to frighten the Nigerian people and give a sense of a collapsed state. So you will see that strategic infrastructure and security installations like prisons, like power stations are being attacked. And you will see that the government has allowed itself to be penetrated and to be rendered comatose. That creates fear, that creates a disincentive on the part of the people to put their roots down because they have a feeling that nowhere is safe. Everybody is clammed up. So I need to deal with that. You need to deal with the issue of education. You need to keep the kids in school. You need to see that when a child goes to school, they stay in school no matter the circumstance. Whether they have money or they don't have money, we have to put enough money in the education to keep them in school. We have to pay the teachers living wages that they can actually, that will allow them to do their research, have academic freedom, and that people like you who are in teaching in California, when you look at your colleagues who are teaching in Nigeria, you don't feel like, oh, they're in hell. You feel like, well, they're also doing well relative to the cost of living in Nigeria. You want to also make sure that you have health care. People are getting sicker as time goes on, and life expectancy is not rising the way it should rise. A lot of our big people, comfortable members of our elite, are dying in hospitals abroad. They're taking their family members for simple things as, something as renal failure, which by now almost every country can deal with renal failure. But people have to take their families abroad and get into all sorts of scandals and problems for what is a basic kidney transplant or something basic like that. The president of Nigeria will be ill. He can't just go to the State House Clinic or National Hospital. He has to go abroad. And many more of our young people, women, are losing their lives from basic childbirth and other primary health care. So we need to deal with that. Not only does it save life, it also employs people and creates a career for young people. We need to recruit into our military. What is happening in the military now is that the war on terror and the insecurity and banditry has become a business. So young people, young officers who are supposed to be given responsibility are not given responsibility. It is the military plutocrats who are sitting on top of the project and extending the life of the terror because every year in, year out, billions of dollars are to be shared. So that's why it looks like the problem is intractable. It is not. At the level of majors and captains, they wipe out all these bandits. But the people at the top believe that, well, it's their luck, that they are in a period where a lot of money is going to the security sector, and they might as well just enjoy the loot over decades. That is the situation. So if I put all of that together and I bring new skills, green technology, other aspects of IT, if you look at what the young people are doing in terms of blockchain technology, if you invest more in that coding, you'll get everybody busy. More so the young people are already leaning towards edutainment. They are creating all kinds of apps all kinds of music, arts, and all of that. If you plug into that, you will get everybody busy. Because the way Nigeria can turn around the economy is you both have unemployment below, somewhere south of 5%. If you don't have unemployment south of 5%, you will not have a peaceful country. You have a lot of people, you must have seen, whose source of living is just to have a smartphone and keep harassing everybody they know for some money here and there. And you need to keep unemployment very, very much down. If you keep that down, then you will be able to boost the economy, because things that you produce, you have people who can buy them. So this is an ecosystem that surrounds a government that has a direction. And you must service the economy, so that the job of the government is not to take control of the economy the way they are doing it now, but to service operators in the economy. If we do that, I think we will be able to turn the corner easily.
So thank you very much. So right now, Nigeria significantly imports and mostly finished goods. And so the manufacturing sector has suffered. Number one, the exchange rate is north of 400 naira, of course, to a dollar. And then the interest rates also are considerably high, somewhat, between 25, 35%. And electricity is a problem. So these conditions do not make manufacturing right now to look quite desirable, or manufacturers are struggling. So what essentially can you do to change the scenario as it is right now?
See, manufacturing is not something you can force, but you can foster it. You can create an environment where manufacturing comes naturally. So when you reduce the cost of energy, first you make energy supply there. And the bondage that Nigeria has cornered itself into, which is called the national grid. That thing I've discovered, and I've told the government as far back as 2001, that it was never going to work. Because the national grid of maybe hovering around 4,000, sometimes it comes to 2,000, but nominally is about 12,000 megawatts, nominally on paper. It's such a small investment. In Lagos State alone, private generators being used by small and medium enterprises carries up to 20 megawatts, 20,000 megawatts. So for the entire national industrial plan to be built on that rickety system is a big mistake. We have to decluster everything. We have to unbundle everything and let regions take care of itself. And when you have a place like Akwa Ibom and Cross River up to Abia, they should be able to have electricity generation market. Lagos should be completely on its own, and Kano, a few other places should be on their own, and up north where we have more reliable and longer hours of sunshine, we should look towards having the solar farms and not the rest of it. And all of these investments are within the spending powers of the various states, if we are to be honest. And a lot of investors are also willing to come to Nigeria. I have tried to bring as much as 2 billion euro investment in floating solar to Nigeria, and I've been knocking on doors for 3 years. No one is even going to listen, because once you make a pitch and the guy who is there is not saying how much is going to him immediately, then he thinks, why am I even wasting my time on this matter? So if we change that attitude, which we are going to change the attitude, you will be able to provide energy. Now, once you provide energy, you will now have to make sure that the energy is industrially feasible. That is to say, when you compute or impute the cost of energy into the production chain, the cost of production is not embarrassing. That's you have to do. Second, you have to look at the infrastructure. All these things we call ports that we are ritualizing as if it's a place where the president appoints you, if you like, they like you, and people congratulate you. Ports should be everywhere. The way the country is designed, Nigeria should have up to about maybe 60 ports between Badagry and Rio de Rey. So you should have so many ports, and the way people are able to build hotels and houses and whatever they like, that's how ports management should be. You should be able to allow anyone who is in Nigeria to partner with anyone and set up a port. Ports should be everywhere. There should be a port that has various tonnages. So if I'm somewhere in Agbabu in Ondo State, I can have a tonnage of a port tonnage of maybe 1,000 metric tons per hour. The other person in Apapa or Lekki can have 1 million metric ton per hour. Someone in a state like Akwa Ibom should be able to do a deep sea port if he wants to. And a place like Niger should be able to have one by Barrow. So you let ports be everywhere. Then we need to be serious about our rail lines. We need to see that we build more rail lines at reasonable cost, not the one that they are doing now where per kilometer is embarrassing what the costing is. We also in project management all over the world know the cost of steel, know the cost of calipers, know the cost of doing the civil works for rail lines. And once you do the rail line, there are rolling stocks all over the world. Canada alone, Australia, China, if they give you their older version rolling stock, you can run rail lines all over the country within a short time. So goods will go off the road and they will be on rail lines and they will be cheaper. And if you look at the cabotage situation, our inland waterways, some of them just need a little dredging, a little bit of water hyacinth clearance, and you can carry goods all over the country. So these are opportunities that we have. If you do that, you will see that the economy will be more conducive to manufacturing. But as it is today, manufacturing can't survive because the first thing you have to buy, whatever you do, is a generator. And the next problem you're going to have is diesel. So because a few people are becoming billionaires, because the profitability of diesel, if you buy diesel from Russia or other places where you have refineries and you bring them to Nigeria, within a period of 3 months, you are a billionaire because you sell diesel in Nigeria 3 times the price in the market. And some of them even go further into contamination so that they can increase the value, the profit. And if you look around the country, you can know where the economy is bleeding just by looking at the people who are displaying wealth, and you trace the transaction or the line transaction, you will see that they are all connected to this subsidy, connected to these other things that raise the cost of doing business. So if you reduce all of that, and then Nigerian customs is an enemy of exporters. The excise component of export is like it's an offense to be a manufacturer. So even the common markets that we have in West Africa, we are unable to take advantage of it because of this problem with manufacturing. So between electricity, between custom and excise, between management of the foreign exchange is a slave market because the notion of our central bank and those who are in charge of it is that Central Bank of Nigeria is a subject of state capture. So if you are involved in any political party or any political process and you are coming to power, one of the easiest way you can have state capture is to influence the appointment of the governor of central bank. So then from that moment, You can run a bank, you can set up a bank, you can do whatever you like. You can have access to foreign exchange. You can be idle, doing nothing, stay in your house, and a hardworking manufacturer who needs $1 billion in investment will have his local currency, but he will not have the foreign exchange. So they will all come to your house and you call the CBN governor, and before you know it, you are making a huge amount of money just because you have access to the management of the central bank. So this is the reason why we have a problem with Form M being funded and letters of credit being funded. And if you go further and you look at what people do with the dollar, dollar is in Nigeria, if we have to be honest about it, for the political elite, dollar is their store of value. The dollar is also their means of bribery. Dollar is their means of money laundering. So you will see a lot of dollars sterilized in Nigeria. I can tell you, if you do proper investigation, and if the EFCC wants to make that, take that as a tip, there cannot be less than $1 trillion sterilized in various warehouses, deposit places, people saved all over the country. So this amount of money is bigger than the entire GDP. So those are all the things which you can deal with before you can tackle the issue of manufacturing, because as international suppliers are reluctant to sell to Nigeria if you are going to have problem of paying for forex. And the way the Central Bank of Nigeria is rationing its dollars is such that it has no control over political people. So it makes these dollars available to them and then start to do a savage, severe rationing for any other person. And as a result of that, many things are excluded, many things cannot be funded, and the lead time for you to get funding for your international partners is very difficult in Nigeria. So I will reverse all of these things because I know these are the problems. And whoever I'm making the governor of Central Bank knows that he has to facilitate trade. The same thing with whoever is heading custom. It won't be that the person has a strong face. That's not enough. The person has to understand how commerce works. And that's what you need to do to appoint someone to head customs for you. The same thing with the trade ministry. It's not a place that a few operators will capture the whole trade policy and make it impossible for free entry and free exit in the market. So once I do that, I'll be able to free the economy and manufacturers can now start to rebuild back. Manufacturing is natural. Once you have an enabling environment, it doesn't take you long before you start to go into manufacturing. But if you force it, you will open the factory and in about 2 years, you will not be able to sustain it.
So you need personnel to run most of the activities that you've highlighted. Meanwhile, universities in Nigeria have been closed for almost 5 months now. What can you really suggest as a permanent solution to incessant strikes in Nigerian universities?
That's very simple, but that's why it's not being done. Government has to stop being interested in stealing education money. The problem between ASU and the federal government is not lack of money, but who controls the money. There is enough money in that fund to free the government from its obligation to the universities. These universities are owned by the federal government, and these universities have a trust fund which was inspired by the academic staff union of the universities, where in the 90s, when I was in the university, it was regarded as impossible. Argument, Jibril Aminu and a few of the ministers at that time was that ASU was right, but there was not enough money to fund the university to the extent to which ASU wanted. And that's why we spent extra years at the universities, because we were a victim of that. Then ASU came up with the idea when Abacha came and said, okay, you know what? What if we just create a trust fund and you take some money, not from the government, but from the private sector, and we put in this trust fund, maybe 2% about of the profits before tax of incorporated enterprises. And they said, okay, you can do that. And I also came up with a decree, Tertiary Education Trust Fund decree. And it was passed to law. But within a short time, money started accumulating. And like anything in government, money looks the same to people in government. Money for hospital is for spending. Money for education is for spending. Any money is for looting. So they started showing interest. And the government started becoming more and more relevant and dominant in the management of the funding. So I'm sure you must have visited some Nigerian universities, you see some chicken houses and ramshackle projects with the sign, TED Fund. And they now determine who goes where, and then they take a few of the academics to join them, and they're even spending money, even the money for training of academics overseas is not given to the university. It's done by TED Fund directly by itself. All of that nonsense has to stop. Once you stop that, I know now that my job is to have a 25-year plan with the universities, leave their money for them, help them to go all over the world for collaboration, for donations, for other things to help them. So when I come to people like you and other academia in the diaspora to say that we need to donate books to our universities, we need to have many of you come there to do pro bono teaching and other services, we should be supporting them, not having an argument with them each time. So that will be done. Once you can get the government people to take their nose off education money and understand that education money is meant to be managed by the educationists in the interest of the children, you will not have a problem at all. It's not a shortage of money, but it's a territory fight over who grabs the purse.
Okay, so back to electricity. I specifically brought this slide so that we can see what is really going on. Nigeria has an average operational electricity generation capacity of 3,879 megawatts. The transmission network consists of high voltage substation with a transmission wheeling capacity of 7,500 megawatts and over 20,000 kilometers of transmission lines. Currently, the transmission wheeling capacity of 5,300 megawatts is higher than the average operational generation capacity of 3,879 megawatts, but is far below the total installed generation capacity of 12,522 megawatts. Clearly, this is a central problem, not just for manufacturing, but almost for every Nigerian. How do you intend to work with the National Assembly to come up with legislation that will make it possible to truly decentralize electricity generation, transmission, distribution? Because clearly from what we are saying now, the DISCOs and the TCN and the GENCOs that we have right now is not doing the job.
You see, we're a victim of, we have to get all this framework. This framework is a cul-de-sac. It doesn't take you anywhere. It's about state capture. What happened in the reform of the power sector, as they put it, was an attempt for politicians and their friends to become rent collectors. They thought that the sunk cost that we've made in terms of investment into these power generation plants, transmission plants, and distribution networks will be easy for them to just take over, just like many took over many assets of Nitel, they took over Nigeria Airways, some real estate. They thought it was another place they could take over and then continue to collect rent for no service rendered. But unfortunately for them, the power sector is a very technical place. You know how your generator at home or in the village disobeys you if you pour the wrong diesel into it, or if you don't maintain it, if the filter is not working. So it's not a sector where you use for political patronage. It's a highly sensitive sector. So they found out now that all the money they borrow from banks, and then all of them are going bankrupt. What we need to do is to pass a simple law where private sector investment in power is deregulated, and then there is an exchange to sell power back to the system if you cannot use. I personally have taken myself off the national grid for a while. About 15 or 16 years ago, in my law firm, we decided to go off grid. So whether there is electricity or no electricity from the main, we really don't care. I'll be on solar. And I've done the same thing for my residences. And I'm doing the same thing now for my TV station. And in the process of doing that, I realized that I, as an individual, I'm able to generate about 1.25 megawatt per hour. That's me. I'm just a lawyer. That's for myself, using solar. So if you have 10,000 of such projects from someone like me, that is 15,000 megawatts. So 10,000 people doing similar things as I've done is bigger than the entire thing Nigeria has done since independence. So I think we need to be practical in our approach. This system is not sustainable. So we need to make new investments, and we need to decluster, have everybody generating power for themselves using multimodal sources of generation. But once you make it look like a government project to capture an entire sector, then everybody goes there. Everybody wants to be a regulator. Everybody wants to take advantage. Even in the course of me importing my solar equipment and all of that, there's supposed to be a duty-free regime, but the custom nearly killed me with all kinds of charges, excuses, delay, demurrage, as if bringing electricity into the country is a sin. So there is no symmetry in the different departments of government with respect to power generation, with respect to building infrastructure, with respect to building capacity to produce anything. Because if you try now, if you have some funding from anyone, and in California, you say, okay, let me put the plant in Nigeria. From the moment you are going to this airport, from the moment you are going to the seaport, from the moment you are going to the central bank or the Standard Organization of Nigeria, all of them will pounce on you like mosquitoes, trying to drain your blood. Because they, for some reason, consider that their own meal ticket is inflation of people. And those who put them in these institutions put them there just for that purpose. So all of their life planning is not based on the income that they earn as their salary, it's based on their ability to fleece people. And once I eliminate many of these things, you will see that once people know that it's easy to go to Nigeria, to put a gas turbine, a Nigerian who is in Canada will discover that, you know what, I'm in Vancouver, Canada. I know of some thermal stations that are being decommissioned. If I can take them to Nigeria without anybody trying to fleece me, I can actually go to any riverine part of my country and put this plant there and get gas from the Nigerian gas is abundant. Get gas and pipe this gas to this place. I can sell the electricity and nobody's going to fleece me. So you will see that many people come from all over the world. And you can do 1,000 projects of 200 megawatts in different parts of the country. So this is doable, but the environment is what you have to change. If you don't change that environment, it's going to be difficult. You have to create an environment where licensing for power generation should be 3 clicks on a computer. You just submit your plan to us. We look into the plan. We see that it is not dangerous. It's environmentally sustainable, and Well, it's up to you how you want to sell your power. And you can have a captive market by yourself and sell your power nearby. I will say, okay, go ahead. And every taxation, licensing fees, whatever you need to pay to the government you can be given a moratorium that when you have gone past your payback period, that's when we can start sending you invoices for those ones. So you make free entry. You cannot say you have a system, you have people who are staffing to the debt in your compound, and then people want to bring you food. You ask them to pay you $1 million deposit and come back in 10 days' time. You want the people in there to die of hunger. So if you are hungry for energy, if you want your industries are crying for energy, your young people are crying for energy, then you don't put entry barriers that are going to be discouraging to will-be investors. It should be free entry. After all, what do you lose if power is generated? You lose nothing.
Okay, so another critical issue will be Nigeria's external indebtedness, both external and internal indebtedness. So this is from the Debt Management Office. You are seeing about $100 billion debt. How do you intend to deal with that? And given the fact that the country is still borrowing, even as we're talking.
Well, that's, to be honest, I'm not particularly worried about this because these numbers reflect a summary of cooked books. Your debt is not a problem except for 4 things you have to consider. One, if you can verify the debts to see that there is no bogus claims. 2, you look at the terms of the debt. Do you have moratorium? What is the interest rate? What is the securitization for this loan? To whom do you own this loan? What is the tenure? So you look generally at the terms of the loan. Thirdly, you look at the purpose of the loan. Did you borrow the money in order to pay salaries? Did you borrow the money so that in the name of recurrent expenditure, some of the people can steal the money? See the kind of money we borrowed during President Jonathan's time, where we said we needed the money to fight Boko Haram, and the money was shared for politics. So you look at all of that. Then you look at the flip side, because in accounting, you have to look at the 2 sides of the balance sheet. Then you look at your income side, because this is your debit side. What of your credit side? What are you receiving? What are the receivables? So if you take your receivables in oil and gas, you take your receivables in taxation, you take your receivables in overfly and levies, and you take all of that together. If you are not having leakage in your income, you'll be able to deal with your debt without too much of a problem. I am worried about structural debts that lead to cyclical failures. So any domestic debt, I can manage that carefully with the money management skill for domestic debt. Because at any point in time where a person feels that it's easier for them to leave their money with the government, they will leave their money with the government. I will just be giving them the coupon. So I can manage my Naira debt without a problem. My foreign exchange liability can affect me in terms of my exchange rate. And because I am not sensitive to the amount of the exchange rate, I'm sensitive to fluctuation. I'm more worried about fluctuation than the amount. I can perfectly run an economy and give full employment to Nigeria with Naira at 1,000 to a dollar. I can do the same thing with Naira at 1 Naira to a dollar, provided that within my medium-term expedition framework, medium-term development framework, I can keep it stable, that nobody is going to worry about arbitrage. Nobody who is making investment in Nigeria will say, well, if I change my, if I convert my value from the dollar or euro or yen or the pound into naira, when I'm going back, I'll have arbitrage shortage and I'm going to be in trouble. Then they will hold back. I don't want that. I want a situation where from the beginning of my administration to the end, whatever is the exchange rate is the exchange rate. So I can keep that stabilization. Then as I increase my production and productivity, and I manage my foreign exchange better, and they say the outlook is okay over a horizon, then there will be more supply of foreign exchange into the country. And if I'm not stealing that supply and I'm not spending it on government wastage, there will be a surplus of more supply. Even if there's no surplus, there will be more supply of foreign exchange to be given to those who need foreign exchange for production. And those who need foreign exchange for production, over a period of 18 months thereabout, they will start to earn some income back. So the supply will go up. And if your external reserve climbs to, say, about $120 billion, then people will start worrying about you that much. The exchange rate will not be an issue. And then it can start to find its level. And you can see that the naira will now be said to have appreciated. Now, but that also works in an environment where I discipline myself on the fiscal side, that I first try to create a balanced budget, because the ideal budget is a balanced budget. That's when you are neutral in the economy, when the government role is neutral. Of course, if government wants to float the economy, you may want to do a surplus budget. It's up to you. But given the situation we are in the country, a surplus budget is not foreseeable right now. So at least you aim towards avoiding deficit, because deficit has to be funded. And you can avoid deficit in three ways. You can avoid deficit by ensuring that you have projects that are actually productive. And you're not under obligation to control every project. Some projects you have to retire them. Some you have to take them to the private sector, let them deal with that. Second, you have to look at pricing. Because pricing or procurement is very important. So it doesn't matter if you don't do many projects, but the few projects you do are overpriced, and you are bleeding foreign exchange without realizing it, or you are in cahoot or collusion with those who are going to round trip it for you. Thirdly, if you're able to generate employment and increase domestic productivity, you will see that people will rely less on imports, because Nigerians now import almost even their breakfast. So in that kind of situation, it is existential, and you don't want to put yourself in an existential environment with foreign exchange. So with this management, it's not really that complicated. It's just for you to keep your head down and take a policy decision and try not to take advantage, because that's where the problem lies now in the country. When you see an arbitrage, you see a gap, you see an opportunity to round trip, people are going to take advantage, because they are in government and they have a piece of paper in front of them, or they have a telephone number they can call, or a text message they can send. And if they do that on behalf of somebody, they do that intervention, they earn $10 million. They will do that again and again, and someone else is going to copy it, and before you know it, it becomes a major source to bend the market. So that's basically what I need to do, and I'll get that done.
Okay, thank you very much. It's about 8:57 p.m. here in San Francisco. That's almost 3 minutes to 12 midnight on the East Coast. So thank you for granting me audience so we can tackle some of the issues that concern Nigeria. I do hope that maybe sometime in the future we'll have more opportunity to interact. Thank you again, and good night.
Thank you, Professor Ita. I'm grateful to your time, and thanks to your audience as well. Good luck.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.